Black History Decoded, Thinking Out Loud. Wes Huff was on Piers Morgan on Good Friday, and there's so much to talk about, but I want to take it piece by piece. I have been saying for the longest time that Akhenaten is not only Moses, but also the Black Child with the Black Madonna, making him Black Jesus. You can check out my videos. I thoroughly explain, and I will do more because there's so many examples of me being right. Now, I want you to hear what Wes Huff has to say about the Son of God, and then this woman, Dr. Kara Cooney, will talk about Akhenaten on the same level.
That Jesus is not claiming to be a son of God, he's claiming to be the Son of God in a unique way that not only puts him on equal footing with the Father, but in this monotheistic context of ancient Judaism, actually ascribes to himself honors, attributes, names, and deeds that only God himself has the right to hold.
But he stripped Egyptian ritual and religion and belief down to its bare essentials, which is God is there in the heavens. You can see it. It's the highest thing. I am its only intermediary. I am the only one that can connect you to it. I am the one that's going to do these rituals, and it's life or death. It's light or dark. It's you're with me or you're against me.
In Christian theology, not believing in Jesus Christ is viewed as rejecting the path to salvation, leading to eternal separation from God and a fate of eternal punishment. So Akhenaten believes that he's the Son of God. If you believe in him, then you believe in God, because he is the direct line to God, same as Jesus. But Akhenaten is way before the white version, which is a fraud. You could do your own research. The Black Madonna and Child was a huge part of Catholic, European, and world history coming from Africa for centuries, way before the white version came into existence. There was a religious revolution in Europe back in the day, but everybody seems to want to forget about this because it's inconvenient to their narrative. I'm telling you right now that the powers that be are coming for Christianity because Christianity is a huge fraud. You see what's happening in Israel? People are starting to question the whole chosen people narrative, and they're starting to question the Torah, which will lead to all the other religions. I believe I have found who the white Jesus is. Remember, the black version is the original. They were venerated for centuries in Europe and around the world until the white version came along. Whites created their own version, and this happened in the 14th century. Welcome to Black History Decoded, where I give insight into Black or African history that has been misrepresented over the centuries. The person I'm about to talk about was a self-proclaimed leader of the Flagellants.
Along the Rhine region of Germany, the faithful decide to take matters into their own hands. They are known as the Flagellants. Fanatics who think they can win God's mercy. Theirs is an extreme measure for an extreme time, and people flock to them in droves.
People looked upon the flagellants as helping to ward off the disease, as perhaps their extraordinary penance might avert God's wrath and take away the plague.
So these people were fanatical religious Christian zealots. Now, they were about sacrificing their flesh, their blood. Do you hear what I'm saying? They were sacrificing their flesh and their blood for the sins of the people because they believed that this plague came down on them because of their sins, and God is doing it. And by them going around from town to town, village to village, not only like beating themselves, sacrificing their flesh and their blood, but they're also preaching and they're also doing miracles. These rando people, Christians, these Christian zealots, are doing miracles on top of that, right? So this Jesus Christ character, because they knew about the Black Madonna and Child, they knew about the black version. So they created their own version, and he has all the hallmarks of the Flagellants. So Jesus is about what? Sacrificing his body for the sins of the people. This all comes from the Flagellants. So they also created a mass hysteria during the bubonic plague, which led to the unaliving of tens of thousands of Jews across Europe.
The infection and the sudden death which it brought were blamed on the Jews, who were said to have poisoned wells and rivers and corrupted the air.
Shock gives way to a witch hunt. Someone must be responsible for this catastrophe, and they should pay. In a torrent of hysteria and fear, the crowds target the helpless and innocent in a bloodbath of biblical proportions.
These so-called Christians, and yes, they were considered Christians, and I want you to look up the word cretin in a good dictionary and read it all the way through, and then you'll know why I asked you to look up that word. So these fanatical Christians severely weakened the Catholic Church, which eventually led to the Protestant Reformation, which many people act like it never existed. From the mass hysteria that the Christian flagellants created to the Protestant Reformation explains the switch from the Black Madonna and Child, but many people ignore this. Very annoying. Not only that, what else came out of the Protestant Reformation? The King James Bible. It's the most popular Bible in the world, and it came from a radical movement.
The extreme violence of the flagellant movement. Their violent self-punishment, complete with the suggestion of holy blood, creates a sensation as they travel through a countryside empty of hope. Their dramatic displays are far more compelling than the ineffectual mutterings of the village priest. Believing their bloody sacrifice earns them God's grace, flagellants claim to perform Christ-like miracles.
Some flagellants believed that dead babies or dead children could be revived in their midst. There's also a famous story of a cow talking as a miracle ascribed to the flagellants.
Now, there was this guy named Conrad Schmid, Konradschmid, Conrad Schmid, who was a self-proclaimed leader of the flagellant movement in Germany during the 1360s, and he died in 1368. From his leadership to his death, Schmid declared himself to be a divine figure, often claiming to be the Son of God or a new Messiah. So this is the switch, and led a sect of flagellants in opposition to the established church. His movement likely gained traction due to the widespread fear and instability in the wake of the plague and economic hardship. However, like many radical religious movements of the time, Schmid and his followers faced suppression by church and secular authorities, who saw them as heretical and a threat to social order. In the late 1360s, the Inquisitor Walther Kerlinger, probably butchering these names, which is Pontius Pilate, most likely, turned his attention to Thuringia. In 1368, 40 flagellants were arrested in Nordhausen, and 7 were burned, one of who appears to have been Schmid. Now, the burned to death situation is interesting because the cross represents the sun, and so-called Jesus was put on the cross. So symbolically speaking, he was burnt to death, just like Conrad Schmid. Now, do you want to know what his followers believed after he died? But before I say that, the BC timeline is crap. It's hot garbage, especially when people figure out who Noah is outside the Bible. Everybody knows who Noah is outside the Bible. They just don't know that they know. Noah, what did Noah do? He sailed the ocean blue, he found a new world, and when he found that new world, it started to become populated. That actually happened in our history, and it's 119 years before the King James Bible. So during the time of the King James Bible, this guy was popular. During the time of King James Bible, these people knew about this guy and his story. So I'm sure you can figure it out from there. Now, they expected him to return at any moment as both Emperor of the Last Days and Divine Being, Conrad Schmid. Now, does that sound familiar? So this begs the question, if so-called Jesus existed before Conrad Schmidt's time, then wouldn't they be upset that this guy is proclaiming that he is a divine being he is the Son of God? Remember, these religious fanatical Christian zealots, before Conrad Schmidt came into existence, and they were originally called cretins that turned into the word Christians. If you looked up the word cretin, you'll understand where I'm coming from. These cretin flagellants were going around doing miracles, preaching, sacrificing their flesh and their blood for the sins of the people during the bubonic plague. Then this Conrad Schmidt comes along and declares himself as a divine being, Son of God, and when he dies, his followers expect him to come back as a divine being, an emperor of days. Now, how could these religious, fanatical Christian cretin zealots believe in that if so-called white Jesus already existed? There's a massive, massive deception on this planet that we need to expose. All the major religions have to be challenged on their narrative about history. We have to stop the gatekeeping, keep on asking them questions. I guarantee you they hate that, and that's when they resort to name-calling and attacks. When they don't want to engage you in a civilized debate, you know something's wrong. There is a worldwide deception that has to be exposed.
They piously march from city to city, performing gruesome masochistic acts before appreciative throngs. In his journals, the French chronicler Jean Divanet writes,
The penitents scourged themselves with whips of hard-knotted leather with little iron spikes. Some made themselves bleed very badly between the shoulder blades, and some foolish women had clothes ready to catch the blood and smear it on their eyes, saying it was miraculous blood.